Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is James. So today I'm going to be putting together this fuel tank. I decided to switch out a tank that I had in my Barnstormer kit. I have an 8-ounce tank in that kit that I built, and I decided that 8 ounce was just too much. So I'm going to go ahead and I decided to go ahead and take it down to a 6 ounce. This is going to lighten the plane up a little bit, and I just didn't need that much fuel. So I decided to go ahead and change out my my 8-ounce tank to this 6-ounce tank. Okay, so in this video I'm just going to go ahead and put this tank together. And so this is a Sullivan tank, like I mentioned, and this is a pretty popular brand of fuel tanks for RC planes. Dubro is also another company that makes a lot of these fuel tanks, and those are the two main ones that I typically use. I know there's other manufacturers out there, but I usually go with the Dubro or with a Sullivan tank. All right, let's go ahead and open this thing up and see what we have in here. What's interesting is these things never come with instructions for the tank themselves. They come with instructions for other accessories to buy, but the actual tank instructions aren't included. I got this at my local hobby shop, and I think it's kind of an older one sitting on the shelf. So anyhow, maybe the newer ones or ones that you buy more currently, straight from Sullivan, maybe they come with instructions. I'm not sure. Yeah, but this is their RST 6 ounce, so it's basically a rectangular tank. All right, see what's inside here. Out of the way. All right. So obviously here's the tank, and again it's rectangular, and I like this one. The reason I got this one is because it's the profile is sort of I guess the short end is horizontal and the longer side is more vertical. I mean, obviously this is the length of the tank, but the rectangle itself is going to be oriented like this inside my plane. And for my particular plane I'm using right now, this is going to fit nicely. So this tank also comes with this little blister or this little bubble up on top, and that's the location where you'd put the where we're going to put the little vent line or the pressure tube that comes off the muffler. It goes through and it's going to go up into that little spot up there. So that's one thing I like about the Sullivan tanks, is that they come with this little bubble in them. I don't think the Dubro ones do, so it's a little bit different design. All right, so they give you this little piece of tubing in here, and then they give you this also This is sort of a nylon tube. This is the same diameter as the brass tube. I'm not really exactly sure why they give this to you. I think apparently you can heat this up and bend it into different shapes, and for whatever reason. And then you can also, I guess maybe you can use this to do like couplings and things between your tubing if you wanted to. But I've never used this, and I haven't seen a lot of reference to it. I may be wrong, but I don't really know how often this is particularly used. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside over there. Let's open up this little package. See what's in here. Here's our screw for the rubber stop. Ay. Let me get this thing open. Okay. Oops, there's some wires. All right, there's our pieces. Okay, so I have my two 1/8 inch diameter copper brass, probably just brass tubing, and this of course is the here's the rubber stopper, here's the clunk, and then here's basically the retaining piece of retaining I guess disc that goes inside the tank, and here's the outside, sort of caps the tank. And then of course they give these little wires that we use to kind of wrap around the fuel tubing when it goes over the let me put it on here. When it goes over the brass tubing, they recommend using these little wires to kind of wrap around and crimp down on it. I'll talk about that in a second, because I'm probably not going to use those. All right, so in this tank they give me they basically come with the 2 holes already opened up in the rubber. I guess it's the stopper, but there's also a third one that they drill out for you, or that they have in here, that doesn't go all the way through. So that third one is the option of having a filling, like a filler tube, which I am going to be doing. So I'm going to have to just kind of cut that open and pop that open so I can put my additional line in here. So I'm going to have 3 lines going into this tank. So I'm going to have the line that goes to the carburetor, the line that goes to the muffler, which is going to be both the pressure line and also the vent line. and then I'm going to have a third line, which is going to be my filling, basically my filler line. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try to open up this additional hole back here, or hole in here. Sometimes you can press it all the way through. Let me see if I can do that. Probably, you can kind of see it coming through right here. There it is. Boy, it doesn't want to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of score it with my X-Acto blade. It'll kind of pop right around it now. Okay. All right, so I got my line in here, additional line. Now these tubes are pretty soft, so like you can see I kind of bent this a little bit. That's okay. All right, so that's going to be my additional line for my filler. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one of these in half, because and this is going to be for the filling, or the filler tube, and also the carburetor. Because these ones are just going to go straight into the tank. They're not going to bend. They're going to go straight in, so I don't need to have as long as the longest piece. So I'm going to save this longer one for when I do the vent tube or the pressure tube, because this one's going to be bent and it's going to need more room. I'm going to need it to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and I can cut this one in half, and that will give me the two pieces that I need for the carburetor and then for the filling tube. Okay, so in order to cut this brass tubing, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can just kind of use one of these, like a small hacksaw that has a very fine, actually fine teeth on it, something like this. I could cut it with this, as long as I'm careful. And cut it with that, you can kind of see. So this is just a basic, just a fine-toothed hacksaw blade. You can use that. I'm going to go ahead and use my my roto tool and cut it off with that. But I'm going to hold it with a pair of little pliers or something, because it can get kind of hot. But by all means, you can use a hacksaw, like I just showed you. Alright, so that was easy enough. So now I have two pieces about the same length, but you do notice that they are sharp. There's a little burrs on here. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these up a little bit, because I don't want those to cut into the tubing. So I'm going to try to clean them up a little bit. Okay, so I got those cleaned up a little bit, and I'm just going to go ahead and I have a couple little files. These are just needle files. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside, and I'm just going to try to pull out any little burrs I have in here. Kind of blow them out. Those should be pretty clean now. Okay, so those are ready to go. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press these through here gently. About one. Now realize that this is going to go over this one like that. So I want to have enough room for it to grip on there. So I don't want it to be too short. So I'm going to go a little bit more. Probably about a ½ inch. See, I'm kind of going back about the middle. Let me do my other one, which is going to be this one right here. Again, I'm just gently pressing them through. Okay. Okay. So those are my two. And I can always cut more off later, but I'm going to go ahead and leave these about like that. Okay, so that's fine like that. And these are going to go in the obviously in the tank like this. Okay, so there's that one. And then we have this guy, which is going to be the vent tube. So this actually acts as two things. It acts as the vent. So when you're filling up the gas tank, the air is being pushed as you're filling it up with fuel. The air is being pushed out of the vent and it goes into the muffler. Basically, it kind of just exits that way. And then obviously, when the plane's running, the opposite is true, and you get pressure. You basically pressure from the muffler feeds into the fuel tank and pressurizes the fuel tank, and that helps keep the fuel flowing nice and evenly. At least you hope. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this one. I want to go from this side because I got that little flap right there because I didn't completely cut it off. All right, so now I have to put this in here like this. Hopefully you can see this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my fuel, the vent, I'm going to put it up on top like this. Obviously, because I want it to go straight back up to the top here. If I had it off to the side or something, then it's got to sort of make a bend, or you can have to put up on, or you would put it like back in here. But I want it to go right into that bubble if I can. So let me pull this off of here, take a look at it. So I have a lot to work with here when I'm doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and bend this gently. Now I don't want to crimp it, right? I don't want to crimp it, so I'm just going to try to bend it very gently, like this. And I'm just going to eyeball it where I think it's going to go. Okay. Probably going to end up cutting some of this off. Put it right there. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. Right about there. It looks like I'm pretty close. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give myself a little bit. I'm going to mark this. I'm going to mark it right about there. Just visually trying to get it to where I think it's going to go. All right, so let me cut this off. And again, I could use the hacksaw to do that. I'm not going to clean it up just yet because I want to kind of see how close I got here. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up like this. Put this in here and hopefully we get it close. The nice thing about the Sullivan tanks is that they are translucent. So look at that, you can kind of see it. Hopefully you can kind of see that in there. I'm not sure. But there's the top right there. So that's cool. Hold on a second. Let me see something here. Let me grab a flashlight. So I can kind of see in the tank when they do this. And of course you can see my brass tube is right up in that little bubble. Okay. So now what I want to do, this is going to have to come back out now because I have to put my other stuff on here. Okay, so before I go any further, what I like to do is I like to put a piece of tape. I use tape because I can use a pen on here, but sometimes it rubs off. So I'm going to put a piece of tape on here that I can see when I'm working on my engine or when I'm kind of have the hatch open or whatever. I like to have a picture, a diagram of what my different lines are for, so I don't forget. Because sometimes when if you don't take a note or something like this, you may not exactly remember which one is which. And so this is just a good way. This is the way I remember it. So I just kind of do this, and I go like this. I put this one here, this one here, and this one here. This is looking up, and of course this will be my vent on top here. This one's going to be my carburetor. And then this one's going to be my filler right here. And this way, when I'm setting up, when I'm putting this in the airplane, when I'm doing the final connections and everything, I just look at my diagram and I go, okay, those are my different connections. All right, so actually, before I can go any further, I need to take this one out. I'll pull this one out of here, like that. And I need to put my little retainer on here, because I can't do that while this one is on here because it's bent, right? I can't get it over the curve. Well, maybe I could have actually, but oh well. All right. Something like that right there. See if I'm on the right spot. All right. Of course, I'm going to come back and I'm going to adjust it later. So this one's going to be they give you one piece of tubing, so I'm going to need to get one more for my filling tube. So this is going to be my carburetor, which is going to be on the left side of the connection on the left side of my airplane, or left side of the engine. That's kind of why I have it on this side over here. All right, let's put this on here. So I'm just going to press this on as pretty much like right about there. Now, the kit comes with these little wires, and the Dubro tanks I don't think come with these. So these are just basically little wires that they're here to just kind of wrap around and sort of like kind of twist onto the tubing and kind of pinch into the tubing and help hold it on. I don't use these because I think there's a chance that you're going to cut the tubing when you do that, and so it's kind of hard to judge exactly how much twist you want to put on it. And really, I've never had a line come off. I mean, I don't think it's going to come off. I've never had it happen. I'm not saying it won't happen, and even so, I don't think these are going to help you too much, because in order for them to work probably effectively, you really have to crimp down on them, really tightly. And I think those are just going to basically cut into the fuel tubing. So for this, what I want is that this is the Clunk. So the Clunk, basically you want it to go as far back as possible, but you don't want it dragging on the back of the tank. You want it to be able to move freely, because when the plane's flying in different angles, you want the Clunk to be able to follow the fuel. You don't want to get it hung up on the back of the tank, and also you need a little bit of space so that you can get the fuel flowing through it. So I think if you're like a quarter inch off the back, you're probably pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and just estimate again where I'm going to clip this, and my Clunk is about right, probably somewhere right about here. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and guess, and I can always cut more off. It's better to go ahead and just do a little at a time if you're not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right about, probably right about here. I'm going to start right there. Let's see what this looks like. It's probably going to be too, well, it's also going to bend down also. It's going to hang down, so I may be pretty good. So let me put this on here. Yeah, I don't see this thing coming off of here. In fact, I pulled out a tank that was in an airplane that was sitting in my garage for, like, I'm not kidding, about 30 years. I pulled it out and had fuel in the tank, but actually it wasn't fuel. It just had basically all the volatiles had evaporated out of the tank, and it was just oil. And I pulled it apart, and I couldn't even get this stuff apart. It was like basically glued on there. So let's pop this in. And again, you can kind of see really good with the Sullivans. Again, you can see them really well. I think the Dubro, and I have nothing against Dubro. I think Dubro are good tanks too, but they're more opaque, and it's harder to see where everything is. Okay. So this one, you may be able to see that it's getting a little bit caught up on the back. Oops, let me get my thing here. I don't know if we can see it or not. You can see it's barely in. Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's getting caught up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to I'm going to cut it a little bit off of it. Like I said, you want it to be able to follow the fuel when the plane's doing whatever the plane's going to do. See how it kind of gets caught up. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit off. I could actually push this in a little bit if I wanted to. In fact, if I push this in just a little bit, yeah, I'm going to cut a little bit off. Do about that much. Like I said, it's trial and error. And it's better to go a little bit at a time than to too much, and then you don't have enough fuel line or whatever. So just be careful. All right, let's pop this in one more time. Okay, that's better. Yeah, so it's back there a little bit, but it's not all the way back, so it's in a good position. So I can go, I can go sideways, up and down, everywhere else, and it's going to follow the fuel without getting hung up on the back. So that's a good position for it. All right, good. Cool. Let's pull it out one more time now. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put the filling clunk on it. Let me get it, but that didn't come with the kit, so I actually had to take some pieces out of my hardware stash. Let me see what happened to them. Hold on a second. Okay, so like I said, this came out of my little hardware drawer, and this is going to be pretty much the same length. This one's not as critical because this is just going to be used to fill it up, and then also if I want to take the fuel out of the tank, this clunk will be back in here so I can suck the fuel out of the tank. Now, if you remember from my Barnstormer build, I didn't do that. I just had my my filling tube just stop right here. I didn't put a clunk on it, and I wasn't thinking about taking the fuel back out. And someone pointed out to me that was a good idea to remember to put a clunk on the end of it. That just makes it easier, so I can actually draw the fuel out of the tank if I needed to. Now, if I didn't have a filling tube on here, I could just basically disconnect the fuel line at the carburetor and suck it back through this tube right here. But having this on here is a little bit more convenient, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on now. Let me see here. Not going to be as long. I don't want it to get in the way, so I'm going to cut that back. Let's see here. Probably right about here or so. That should be good. It's a little bit more off. Like I said, I don't really want it to get in the way of this one. So it's certainly not as critical. Okay. All right, so there we go. There's our little setup. Okay, so now just go ahead and put it in the tank here. So what I need to do though is I need to put this on here first. And the reason I'm going to do that now is because I want to be able to make sure that the screw is going through here and that it engages that little back plate. Let me get my screwdriver. And what I want to do though, these are very sensitive, so I just want to engage that little plate without causing the rubber stopper to expand. Otherwise it won't go in very easily. All right, so there, I think we're pretty good there. Okay, so now put it in here. So it was a little tricky with this thing right here. Okay. All right, so when I look at this, I can see that my vent tube is a little off. Oops, that's okay. I'm going to pull it out of here. I'm just going to push it in a little bit further. Oops, straight up and down. always like putting tanks together. I don't know why. All right, so I have a little bit of space. Now the thing about it is that even if the if these tubes get too close, it will impede or kind of restrict the airflow. So you do want to make sure that that the vent tube is not pressed up against the wall, the roof of the tank. And again, this one's nice because it actually has that little bubble for it. I think we're pretty good right there. Okay, cool, good. All right, so you can kind of see that. Hopefully you can see that in here. It's nicely placed. And let's go ahead and tighten it up now. Now this one, when you're doing this, don't want to over tighten it. So, and it doesn't take a lot of pressure to seal it. You don't want to strip it. So I don't go too tight on that one. Oh shoot, see what I did is I just moved my, all right, that was dumb. So as I was turning it, I actually turned the whole stopper, or the whole assembly, I guess. Took it out of my, all right. Let's try that again. Let me hold it in place. Okay, should be pretty good. All right, cool. All right, so now we're in there. Everything's in there. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure that it actually flows nicely. The air flows through it nicely. So let me get a piece of tubing that I can use for a test tubing. Okay, so I have a couple pieces of tubing that I can use to test this. So one thing I can do is I'll go through each one at a time, and I'm just going to blow through this and make sure the air flows pretty good. That one was good. Very good. Very good. Okay, so all of my connections are nice and freely flowing. Nice. And the other thing I do is now I want to check to make sure that there are no leaks. So I'm going to cover two of them like this, right? And I'm going to put this one on top of here. And see if I can get any, I'm going to blow on this to make sure I don't have any leaking. All right, good. So that's nice and solid. It's nice and sealed up. I think we're good to go. Okay, so this is now ready to be installed in my airplane. Now I do have, obviously I have these brass tubes sticking out of here, and I'm going to have to make some adjustments to those. You can obviously bend them a little bit if you need to bend them to get them to fit, but I think I'm going to have plenty of room, and obviously I can go ahead and cut them. I'll probably end up cutting this one a little bit shorter here. And then again, I have my diagram up here, so I know, for example, I know when I'm looking at the airplane like this, I know what my configuration is. I know that this is going to be my fuel, my carburetor, my fuel filling tube, my carburetor, and then my vent slash kind of pressure tube. All right, so I went ahead and I installed the new tank in the Barnstormer kit here, and again, obviously it's a little bit smaller, 2 ounces smaller than my 8-ounce tank that I had in here, and it's all hooked up and ready to go now. And again, so here's the bigger 8-ounce that I took out. So anyhow, I'm looking forward to flying it, and we'll see how it does with the new tank. It's going to lighten it up a little bit, and again, I didn't need that much fuel, so I think this is the perfect size for this build. Okay, so I actually have a home for this tank right here. So let me show you. So this is going to be my next build. This is a Balsa USA kit, and I'm going to be talking about that in an upcoming video. And again, like I mentioned in a previous video, I'm going to be using this OS Max 46 AX2 for the build. So now, cool, I have my tank, I have a tank, and I have the engine that I want to use. And I'm going to be starting this build pretty soon. I am going to do a run-in test run on this engine first to make sure this engine's working properly. So, okay, well that's it for now. Thanks for watching my channel, and we'll see you next time.